Now, Vanessa, back to you for a second, because, of course, one of the groups of one of the demographics that has been under massive attack from the mainstream press at the moment in the last number of years, aside from yourself and the likes of us, have been academics. One academic in particular, David Miller, just tell us what the latest is on his case, and then we'll have him on to discuss that in a bit more detail.
Well, very good news that a UK court rules in favour of a professor unfairly dismissed for anti-Zionist views. So just a little detail in the next slides. A UK court ruled on the 5th of February that Professor David Miller, who was terminated from his position at the University of Bristol in 2021 for anti-Zionist views, was in fact discriminated against and unfairly dismissed. Rahman Lowe Solicitors, the law firm representing Miller, said that the ruling was a significant triumph, setting a precedent for those who hold anti-Zionist beliefs to be legally protected in the workplace. Professor Miller successfully claimed discrimination based on his philosophical belief that Zionism is inherently racist, imperialist, and colonial, a protected characteristic under the Equality Act 2010, alongside a finding of unfair dismissal. And if we just look at the next slide, we can see that David is extremely pleased that the tribunal has concluded that I was unfairly and wrongfully dismissed by the University of Bristol. He's also very proud that we have managed to establish that anti-Zionist views qualify as a protected belief under the UK Equality Act.
Okay, so David, let me welcome you to the programme. And first of all, give me your feedback on the result here. Let's start with that.
Isn't it personally for me, where the court concluded that the university didn't properly investigate the complaints against me, didn't properly investigate my defence of those complaints, and nor did they properly evaluate what they should do as a result of that. So that's a great victory for me. I will get compensation for that. That's yet to be decided. But the bigger point, and the more important point, and the reason why we did this, really the most important reason why we did this, was to establish that anti-Zionist views should be protected as philosophical belief under the UK's Equality Act of 2010. And we've managed to do that. We've managed to establish that, yes, that anti-Zionist views are protected under law, and also that the reason that I was sacked was because of my anti-Zionist views. The university had maintained it wasn't to do with my anti-Zionist views. On the contrary, it was to do with the fact that I had upset students or offended students or made students feel what they said was unsafe, all of which were, propagandist attempts to have me sacked. And the court decided that on the contrary, that it was actually the anti-Zionist views which were what caused me to be sacked. And they decided that because the two university witnesses who investigated me and who sacked me can effectively confess that in cross-examination. It was a glorious moment when that happened.
So just so that everybody is clear, what did you say in the first place that brought the initial investigation, the initial complaints?
Well, when you say initial investigation, let's remember there were 3 separate investigations of me at the University of Bristol, each of which determined that I had not on any occasion said anything remotely anti-Semitic. And to be very quick about this, the first complaint came in 2019 after I'd been there only 6 months. A bachelor lecture I gave on Islamophobia, where I discussed my theory of the 5 pillars of Islamophobia, in which one of the pillars is parts of the Zionist movement, and some students took objection. There was a complaint from an Israel lobby group that was rejected. They then roped in a student organization to complain, and that complaint went on for 2 years and all the way through lockdown. And eventually a QC cleared me on every single charge, including additional charges that the university had unilaterally added to the charge sheet. And the QC concluded that there wasn't a single thing I'd said ever, and this is in statements going back to 2013, which was anti-Semitic. The third complaint, or the third investigation of me, was in February 2021, 6 weeks after the first report had exonerated me on everything. And what I said then was, in a public meeting, not during work, for Labour Against the Witch Hunt, I said, and I can quote this exactly, it's burned into my memory. I said that, as some of you will know, I have been attacked and complained about by the president of the Union of Jewish Students and by the president of the Bristol Jewish Society. That was the words which effectively got me sacked. They looked at some other words as well, but that was the words. And what I was doing there was factually stating what had happened to me. I had been attacked and complained about by these organizations, which are, of course, formally Zionist organizations. So there was this outpouring of horror and grief and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Zionist professors at my university wrote to complain. Zionist professors from all over the world wrote to complain. Over 100 members of the House of Lords and the House of Commons wrote to complain from, I think, 7 political parties, stunningly. And as a result, the university felt under pressure to sack me. They had another investigation which cleared me of anti-Semitism, but which determined that because some students had said that they were upset and that they felt threatened by my anti-Zionist views, that I should be sacked. And that was the reason that they maintained they had sacked me. And of course, as I've said, under cross-examination, they wilted and effectively confessed that the real reason was the terrible nature of my anti-Zionist views, which now stand as quite reasonable and mild expressions of anti-Zionism, which are protected under law. Incredible.
And I mean, what are your thoughts on the more general point about academia and the right to express opinion? Is there room in academia in the 21st century for opinion, or is it just about churning out facts to students these days? And facts in inverted commas, by the way.
I wish there were more facts being churned out, because, of course, that's the problem. You can't say facts. I mean, the interesting thing about this is that I've been studying propaganda, lobbying, and power for all my academic career. And what I said about the Zionist movement was based on research. It wasn't just my opinion. I do have anti-Zionist beliefs, and they come from a deep level of conviction, but they are also informed by research I've done over many, many years. And this is what I said to the court. I said, look, what was I supposed to do? I'm a social scientist. I found these things out. Should I not say them? Should I pretend that I don't know what Zionism is? Well, of course I can't. I can't do that. Otherwise, I would not be a social scientist. I would simply be a propagandist. And so, my overall view on this is that it's very, very difficult to actually properly discuss evidence-based research about structures of power, in particular imperial structures of power, and of course, as part of that, the Zionist movement. So it's and the reason for that is that the pressures on academic freedom and on the universities in general are, first of all, the neoliberalization of the university and the marketization of the university, so that student numbers are a key driving factor. But second of all, the massive pressure that is put on universities by the structures of power, in particular imperial structures of power. So, for example, over the question of Syria or of Ukraine or indeed of Palestine, there's massive pressure put to conform to the view of NATO, of the US and the UK in relation to specifically Palestine. In addition to that, there is, of course, massive pressure put on by the Zionist movement, which is extremely well organized and extremely extensive. I mean, I've been writing about this now for some time, sorry, hang on. And what I would say is that there's an article I wrote about this where people mocked my view that Zionism was everywhere. But if you look at the extent of Zionism and its organization in the UK, there are, I estimate conservatively, there are over 2,000 separate Zionist organizations in the UK, many more than that in the US, of course. And they are engaged on a daily basis in trying to justify, promote, and excuse the genocide in Gaza. And that's a huge pressure on universities, so that when something like this happens, when someone makes an unpopular statement or is an anti-Zionist, it's not just that you get pressure from Parliament and from Zionist professors and from the Zionist movement, you also get pressure from university funders. So my university was put under pressure by funding bodies which said that they would no longer give money unless I was sacked or dealt with. And these bodies were, of course, foundations which give money to other Zionist causes, to settlements, to the IDF, etc. So there is very little scope for academic freedom which goes against the interests and the wishes of power. That's what I would say.
Yes, David, thank you very much for that. Now, just very briefly, get your comment on this, because we're holding a symposium on Sunday, the 18th of February, 6 p.m. UK time, which you're taking part. Piers Robinson is organising this. This is through the Organisation for Propaganda Studies and ourselves and Propaganda in Focus. So Piers Robinson, Daniel Browdy, Oliver Boyd-Barrett, Jared Ball, and yourself. So we look forward to hearing more from you on that. But have you got any just brief comments on that?
Yes, one of the things I've been attacked for, as you can see from the slide there, is that I am somehow an Assad apologist. I've also, of course, been attacked for being a Putin apologist, for being an apologist for the mullahs in Iran, and various other things, as if I would be working for the intelligence agencies of all three countries, never mind probably also of China. I mean, this is ridiculous, but nevertheless, it's a serious force curtailing academic freedom in the UK and elsewhere today.
Yeah. Okay, David, thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see you on the 18th.